That morning, I woke up feeling just fine. I made myself a cup of coffee, played some soft music, and let the sunlight stream through the curtains. Everything felt peaceful. Until I checked my phone. A message from a client. "I'm not satisfied with the way you handled this." And just like that, it was over. My heart raced. My mind spiraled into all kinds of scenarios. I left my coffee untouched, the music no longer soothing. My entire morning dissolved into a cloud of anxiety, all because of a single sentence. And the strange thing is, that wasn't unusual. In fact, it happens almost every day. We live in a world where our emotions are hijacked by the smallest triggers: a negative comment on social media, a cold look from a stranger, a careless remark from a friend, or even not getting enough likes on a post. These things may seem trivial, but they can completely alter how you feel about yourself in just seconds. This is the invisible enemy. The emotional triggers you don't even realize are stealing your inner peace day by day. The real problem? We were never taught how to consciously respond. Instead, we let reflexes take over. Anger, hurt, sadness. Like someone flipping a switch inside us without our awareness. And you know what? Every time we let our emotions dictate our actions, we give away a piece of our power. We become a product of our environment, of other people's words, instead of the master of our own inner world. You can't control the world, but you can absolutely learn to control how you respond to it. And that's where your true strength begins to form. In the next part, I'll show you a simple yet powerful method to regain control of your emotions in the first 3 seconds whenever someone hurts, angers, or overwhelms you. It's a magical moment when you pause before any emotion has a chance to take over. A few months ago, I was standing in line at the supermarket when a man behind me suddenly raised his voice. "I'm in a hurry, can you speed it up?" he said sharply, his eyes full of frustration. I felt my face flush, my throat tightened, and in an instant, my mind wanted to snap back. "Do you think you're special? Everyone's in a hurry." But just before I opened my mouth, I did something simple. I paused, I took a deep breath, and I said nothing. In those 3 seconds, everything changed. The emotions surged like a wave, but then settled. I turned around, gave a gentle smile, and said, "We all have moments when we're in a rush. Thank you for being patient." His expression changed immediately. No more anger, just a hint of awkwardness. I kept my calm. And more importantly, I kept my day. We often think emotional control is difficult, something that takes a lot of time. But the truth is, it only takes 3 seconds. 3 seconds not to react impulsively. 3 seconds to breathe instead of shout. 3 seconds to ask yourself, do I want to act or be controlled? Here's the formula I use every time emotions rise. 1. Breathe. Take a slow, deep breath. 2. Name. Acknowledge the emotion. I'm angry. I feel hurt. 3. Decide. Choose a conscious response, not a reactive one. It sounds simple, but its power is remarkable. It transforms you from a triggered person into a master of the moment. You don't always need to be right. You just need to stay aware. And that awareness begins with a pause. In the next part, I'll share a common misunderstanding about emotional mastery. Many people think that not reacting means becoming numb, cold, or indifferent. But the truth is the opposite. You can care deeply and still not be swept away by emotional chaos. That is the power of detachment, intelligent separation. I used to think that if I wanted to live in peace, I had to learn to not care what people say, not get upset when misunderstood, no reactions, no emotions. But you know what? I was wrong, completely wrong. I have a friend, the director of a nonprofit organization. He's incredibly compassionate, always attentive to every member of his team. But I've never seen him lose his temper, nor have I seen him fall apart when someone quits or harshly criticizes him. One day I asked him, "How can you care so deeply about everyone and still not get exhausted?" He smiled and said, "I've learned to separate my emotions from my reactions. I still care, but I don't cling. I give my best and let the outcome unfold as it will. And in that moment, I realized something. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you learn to care without falling apart when things don't go your way. Detachment is not coldness or indifference. It is the art of remaining calm in the midst of love. You can still cry when someone suffers. You can still feel disappointment when something good falls through. But instead of being swept away by emotions, you observe them, understand them, and then let them go. A mother may love her child deeply, but if every time the child misbehaves she responds with anxiety, control, or anger, that love becomes a burden. But if she continues to love, to guide, to be present, without letting emotions overpower her reason, that is true strength. You don't have to close your heart to protect yourself. You just have to learn how to stay grounded, even when your heart is moved. That's detachment, a kind of love that doesn't cling, doesn't demand, and doesn't drain you. In the next part, we'll talk about a hard truth. You will have to choose between two kinds of pain: the pain of letting emotions control you, or the pain of disciplining your emotions every day. And that choice will determine who you become. I used to have a bad habit. Whenever something hurt me, a criticism, a rejection, a small failure, I would react instantly. I'd fire off a defensive email. I'd make a call to set things straight. I'd say things that I'd later regret. And then I'd spend hours overthinking, blaming myself, wishing I could go back and handle it differently. What I didn't realize in those moments was this: I was choosing emotional pain over emotional discipline. We all have to suffer. The question is, what kind of suffering will you choose? If you react impulsively, you might feel relieved for a few moments, but soon comes regret, a sense of losing control, maybe even damage to relationships that can't be repaired. On the other hand, if you pause, take a breath, and choose to respond calmly or say nothing, you might feel uncomfortable. But that discomfort only lasts a few seconds, and in return, you keep your dignity, your connection, and your self-trust. I had a colleague, incredibly talented, but sometimes harsh with feedback. Once, he criticized me during a team meeting. Everyone went silent. I felt humiliated, and my instinct was to snap back. But I didn't. I simply said, "Thank you for the feedback. I'll take a look." That night, I was deeply unsettled, but the next day I received a message from him, an apology, and from that point on, our working relationship became much better. I chose 3 minutes of pain instead of weeks of tension from a broken relationship. Emotions don't need to be erased, just guided. You can feel hurt, angry, disappointed. That's human, but you don't have to act on those emotions. You can choose the pain of discipline instead of the pain of consequence, and that choice, repeated every day, shapes you into the person you've always wanted to become. In the next part, I'll share a simple yet powerful tool to build emotional resilience: visualization, mentally preparing for adversity. When you train your mind to face the fire daily, life won't shock you anymore. And when the storm comes, you'll already know how to stand strong. One autumn morning, I sat in my usual cafe, watching the busy crowd outside. I was preparing for an important meeting, one I knew would include tough questions, critical looks, and harsh feedback. I felt nervous, but this time, I didn't try to push it away. I closed my eyes. I visualized myself, sitting in that meeting room. I imagined every gaze, every sharp question, every moment I might get interrupted. But I remained calm. I breathed slowly. I smiled. I answered each question with a steady voice. I lived through the situation in my mind, as if I had already overcome it many times. And when the real meeting happened a few hours later, I didn't tremble. I didn't get angry. I didn't get swept up in emotion. I had already prepared in my mind, and my mind knew exactly what to do. That is the power of visualization, intentional mental rehearsal. A technique that seems simple, yet is used daily by Olympic athletes, top CEOs, and emotional mastery experts. Not to escape reality, but to own it before it arrives. You're about to see someone who once deeply hurt you. Instead of letting anxiety take over, sit down and close your eyes. Visualize the setting, the conversation, the emotions that might arise. Then mentally walk through it as the calm, grounded version of yourself. By doing this, you're training your brain to respond the way you want, before real life demands a reaction. Our brains don't fully distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones, if the mental image is clear and emotionally strong enough. Which means, when you visualize yourself staying calm, your body actually practices being calm. You can't predict the future, but you can prepare for how you'll face it. The clearer your mental rehearsal, the less overwhelmed you'll be when adversity strikes. And when you've built that kind of strong inner foundation, you begin to realize it's not just people or events that shake your peace. It's the constant stream of what you let into your life every day that acts as the silent invader. In the next part, we'll dive into a challenge we all face: how to protect your inner peace in a world full of notifications, drama, and endless comparison. Let's explore the art of digital detachment. One morning, I decided not to reach for my phone right after waking up. No emails, no social media, no news. Just sitting down, sipping a glass of warm water, and looking out the window. Birds chirped. The sunlight was gentle. My mind was at peace. Then, out of habit, I picked up my phone. 5 unread notifications, a tense message, and a negative news headline popped up on the screen. It only took 10 seconds, and that morning peace completely vanished. Sound familiar? We live in a world where our inner calm is stolen, bit by bit, through every notification, every scroll, every moment of comparison. We tell ourselves we'll just check for a second. And 45 minutes later, we close the phone feeling heavier, more scattered, and emotionally dragged from disappointment to anxiety. The problem isn't technology itself. The problem is we've stopped choosing what we allow into our minds. You're feeling fine. Then you see a friend buying a new house, checking in on vacation, or celebrating some big achievement. Suddenly you feel like you're falling behind. You start to worry, compare, and feel like nothing you're doing is enough anymore. Those emotions aren't rooted in truth. They come from a digital ecosystem designed to make you react. Each time you get a notification, your brain releases dopamine, a little hit of reward, and the faster you respond, the more you're programmed to depend on that stimulation. The result? You slowly lose control of your own attention without even realizing it. Spend the first 2 hours of your day without touching your phone. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Unfollow content that triggers comparison, stress, or feelings of inadequacy. Take 1 day each week for a digital fast. No social media, no news. This isn't escaping, it's protecting your inner space. Your mind is your most sacred space. Not everyone or everything deserves a place in it. When you learn to filter what gets access to you, you stop being a victim of the world. You start becoming the architect, the one in charge. And once you find stillness in the noise, you'll realize that true strength isn't in how loudly you speak, but in your ability to remain silent at the right moment. In the next part, we'll explore exactly that. The silent advantage. The art of using silence as a powerful psychological strategy. A few years ago, I was in a meeting with a group of demanding partners. One of them suddenly asked a sharp, challenging question. "So, do you really think you're capable of handling this project?" The room fell completely silent. All eyes turned to me. In my mind, dozens of responses rushed to the surface, to defend, to prove, to argue. But I didn't say a word. I just stayed silent. 1, 2, 3 seconds passed. I looked directly at him, smiled gently, and said, "I believe the results will speak for themselves." He nodded slowly. No more questions followed. That was the moment I truly understood. Silence isn't empty. Silence is a form of power. We often feel the urge to say something, to fill the silence, to defend ourselves, to prove a point. But sometimes not responding is the most powerful response. Silence creates space, where others start to reflect, and you regain control. In a heated argument, the other person starts to lose their temper, saying angry or even hurtful things. You have two options. Respond at the same emotional level, escalating the conflict. Or stay silent, look at them, and refuse to be pulled into their emotional chaos. Silence isn't defeat. Silence is refusing to fight where your peace is not worth losing. When you go silent, the other person begins to reflect on their own words. They feel awkward. They feel mirrored. And you, instead of being led by emotion, are now guiding the tone of the entire conversation. In meetings, count to 3 before answering a tough question. When criticized, instead of reacting instantly, try smiling and staying quiet. In important conversations, let others speak first. The less you talk, the more you truly hear. The one who speaks the least is not the weakest, but the one who has nothing to prove. Well-timed silence makes you a mystery. And sometimes, your greatest presence isn't in what you say, but in what you choose not to say. And when you are calm enough to say nothing, you are also mature enough to no longer need others to agree with you. In the next part, I'll share one of the most liberating lessons of all: how to stop seeking approval and start living the life you truly believe in. I used to be the kind of person who was terrified of disappointing others. When someone frowned at my opinion, I'd immediately rephrase it. When someone didn't reply to my message, I'd start wondering, did I say something wrong? What I didn't realize was every time I did that, I was bargaining my self-worth for someone else's approval. We grow up in a world where validation feels like oxygen. High grades equals praise. Being liked equals having value. Being agreed with equals being right. Over time, we forget who we are without external feedback. But the truth is, needing constant agreement isn't self-love, it's dependence. A talented friend of mine once turned down an amazing job opportunity simply because everyone around thought it wasn't the right fit. A few months later, someone else took that opportunity, thrived in it, and my friend realized I didn't choose what was right because I was too afraid of being judged. Listening to others isn't wrong, but if you always wait for approval before acting, you'll end up living a life that makes others comfortable, not the life you truly want. Before posting something, ask, am I doing this because I believe in it or because I want applause? Every night, acknowledge yourself. What did I do well today, even if no one noticed? Learn to listen to feedback, but don't live by it. You don't need everyone to like you to know you have value. You only need one thing: to believe in yourself. And when you let go of the need for approval, you don't become cold. You become free. You no longer need applause to move forward. You don't need validation to live in alignment with your truth. Because real worth doesn't come from recognition. It comes from inner clarity. Knowing who you are, where you're going, and why you've chosen that path. In the next part, you'll learn a powerful skill to protect that inner foundation: how to respond wisely and calmly to criticism and judgment. Because there will always be someone who disagrees with you. And when that happens, you need to know how to stay grounded and turn it into strength. Let's move on to part 9. Handling criticism, turning judgment into your fuel. There was a time when I spent 3 full months preparing for an important presentation, an opportunity that could have marked a major turning point in my career. I rehearsed every slide, every word, even my posture. But on the day of the event, things didn't go as planned. The projector malfunctioned, I was interrupted mid-speech, and the Q&A session completely fell apart. I walked off stage in silence, and in my head, one sentence kept repeating itself: I failed. I hit it home the entire weekend, too afraid to check my email, too ashamed to watch the recording. But eventually, I opened my inbox and saw a message from someone on the organizing team. Your talk was so genuine. Thank you for showing up. Not perfectly, but bravely. That's when I realized failure isn't in the fall. It's in letting the fall keep you down. We often respond to failure in two unhelpful ways. One, avoiding it, pretending nothing happened, afraid to look back. Two, internalizing it, turning I failed into I am a failure. Both responses leave you stuck. But there's a third way, the way of emotional maturity. Fail smart, which means observe failure as useful data. Separate your identity from the outcome, and learn to get up faster and lighter each time. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before inventing the electric light bulb. When asked if he was discouraged, he simply smiled and said, "I haven't failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." It sounds idealistic, but it's actually a skill you can practice. And that skill starts with one powerful question after every setback. What did I learn from this that I would never have known if I hadn't failed? After every mistake, write down 3 things you can improve, instead of 3 things that make you feel bad. Say to yourself, I failed at that, not I am a failure. Share your failure story with someone you trust to help you see it in a new light. Failure is not the end. It's a pause for recalibration. The better you learn how to fail, the more lightly and gracefully you'll move towards success. In the next and finals part, we'll wrap up this journey with simple but powerful daily habits that help you maintain a strong inner core every single day. Once I had the chance to speak with an elderly mentor, a psychologist who had helped hundreds of people navigate emotional crises over the span of 40 years. I asked him, "What's your secret to staying calm and clear-headed amid the emotional storms you witness every day?" He smiled gently and said, "A secret? It's repetition. I have things I do every day, whether I'm busy or tired. Small things, but they keep me grounded." He then shared with me his personal mental rituals, which I later adopted and adapted in my own way. We often think inner strength is a gift, something reserved for special people. But the truth is, anyone can develop emotional resilience if they learn to care for their mind the way they care for their body. And the best way to do that is by building rituals, intentional habits that train your mental muscles each day. Here are 5 simple but highly effective daily habits that mentally strong people practice. 1. Start the day in silence, 5 to 10 minutes. No phone, no news, just sit quietly with yourself, breathe deeply, and feel the present moment. This resets your mental frequency, so the world doesn't drag you into its chaos first thing. 2. Keep an emotional journal. Each night, take 5 minutes to write down 3 things. What made you feel grateful today? What unsettled you? How did you respond to those emotions? Writing it down helps you recognize your emotions instead of being ruled by them. 3. Practice positive self-talk. Speak to yourself the way you would to a close friend. I did better than yesterday. Just hold on a little longer. It's okay. I'm learning. These seemingly small affirmations are like emotional medicine when you feel tired or low. 4. Choose your response consciously. Each day, pick one moment where you're tempted to react instantly, then pause. Count to 3. Breathe. Respond, don't react. This is your emotional gym, training your inner strength in real time. 5. Let go of one thing you can't control every day. Write down one worry that's outside your control and cross it out. Other people's opinions, the outcome of a meeting, someone else's attitude. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing peace over pointless stress. Mentally strong people aren't always steady. They're the ones who know how to return to steadiness every day. And that quiet consistency, built through small, intentional actions, is the foundation of an unshakable mind. If you've journeyed with me this far, chances are you deeply crave one thing: to live without being pulled in every direction by the world around you. And I truly believe you can, not through perfection, but through small steps, through wise choices, through every moment you turn inward and gently remind yourself, peace is not a destination. It's how you walk, day by day, in a world full of noise.